We're live on Facebook, recording, and
don't nobody like a three-legged dog.
Oh.
Balance.
balance. I don't know, three-legged dogs are okay.
I love three-legged dogs. I just saw one today, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't even know. They don't even know.
Poor
They
dumb
live
things.
their
They're so
best
sweet.
life. I sometimes feel like a three-legged dog.
On that note,
How's everybody doing? It's Monday.
good.
Woo.
Yeah.
Woohoo! Good weekend, Tom?
Yes. What did I do? Read lots of books.
I was just telling Amanda in the green room. So my family book club decided that they wanted to read a scary book. And so they couldn't decide. And so they all settled on. So we had to go back to 19, I think, 79, 80, 81. Peter Straub, the ghost story.
Ghost story? Yeah. Remember
Did it just get reissued?
It did, yeah. I don't know why exactly, but yeah.
Yeah, so it got reissued. So anyways, so I read that this weekend. It's very Stephen Kingish. It's very, it's just this.
Right.
So then I did the little googly searching going, and there was a movie with like Fred Astaire, Douglas Fairbanks Jr.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God. It's like all these old time actors that were in this thing. So it's like I'm going to pay the $3.99 on Hulu or whatever and watch it now because it's just like, got to see it. All right.
Yeah.
Good release. I already talked to Gabe. Go ahead.
We could reminisce about movies from the late 70s, early 80s, but I guess we should just move on.
Well, they're so weird. Some of them were so
there was
good,
one
but
called
they all end the same. They all
Sort of end in mid kind of conversation or something.
Right.
All of a sudden, bodies flying everywhere, and then they just like fade back. Hero walks away.
Yeah.
Do you remember a book and movie called Burnt Offerings? It was a big bestseller back in the day, and there was again a movie with stars in it. I don't think Fred Astaire was in it, but yeah, it was a period of those kind of like they're B movies, but they were.
But I was watching do you remember Play Misty for Me? I love that. Okay, well, I was like 10 and my cousins took me to that movie. That's a whole other story. But I mean, the movies in this were raunchy. I mean, there was some got away with
Ted and Carol and Alice,
They got away with some serious stuff in those. I go back at them and I'm like, I get a little embarrassed. I'm like, they got away with some stuff back then.
I managed to watch some of those, but I wasn't supposed to watch them. I'll tell you that.
I know.
But I did.
All right, let's get to some recs. It looks like it's going to be Gabe, Tom, Amanda. I'm going to talk about some great events that we have. So, Gabe, take it away.
All right. I am going to discuss my first book. And it's going to be a familiar writer to some of you. Mallory O'Meara, she wrote a really, really wonderful book for us. The lady from the Black Lagoon, which was the Southern California Independent Booksellers Association nonfiction book of the year a couple of years ago, in which she looked at the woman who created the creature and the character and the movie and almost a genre, as we were talking about scary stuff. And got like no credit for it. So it was a really readable LA book, very Hollywood book that did very nicely for us. And now she's following up with another fun book called Girly Drinks. I apologize for the pink type. I thought I was being cute. Maybe I should have used a bolder color. But I'm a big fan of Mallory's. Like I said, she writes a really fun book. She's got an interesting eye, and she finds these details that that are like obscure as hell, and unfolds these great stories. So essentially, let's talk about drinks and when did like the appletini become a woman's drink? You don't see a guy drinking appletini, man.
Come on, maybe
Cosmo. when did a Cosmo become a
lemon
lady?
drop? Come on, a lemon drop.
I like a lemon drop. And actually, in Vegas with the Stallions, my fantasy football team, fellas, we all joined and had a Cosmo one night. We were in Vegas. They're pretty good if you like the sweet drinks. Anyways, I digress. So it's essentially a feminist history of booze and how we got where we are today. But going back in history and discovering these great, nuns, hundreds of years ago that were distilling liquor. So all these, 17th century pulque from Latin America, just when all these things were coming about, and the women who were involved in creating and expanding the world of alcohol and liquors and wines and cognacs. And she just does it in a really readable, compulsively readable way. So it's the kind of thing you pick up on an afternoon and you just run through it, and it's just a lot of fun. And that's all most thing I can say about Mallory is she writes a really fun book.
Super fun.
And totally engages you.
Gotta love the nuns making booze, man. They gotta do something.
Exactly.
Booze, which is more lucrative. Come on.
I know. Let's see. We have somebody. You mentioned Northern Vegas. We have somebody watching on Facebook with us from Northern Vegas. So hello, Northern Vegas.
Oh wow.
All right,
Welcome.
Tom. What do you got for us?
So my first book came out last week. I had so many books to talk about last week. I didn't get them all in, so I have some this week that are already out. So Nick Offerman's Where the Deer and the Antelope Play. This is a really terrific book, really fun. I mean, so Nick Offerman, hopefully we know from Parks and Rec and a lot of other shows, but most famously from Parks and Rec. But this is the 5th book we've published by him. He is a serious writer, thinker, but he's hilarious at the same time. And so the new book comes out of, it actually started before the pandemic, but definitely picked up steam during the pandemic. So it's basically looking at nature and the outdoors through these 3 journeys that he takes. So one is a trip to Glacier National Park with Jeff Tweedy, one of my favorite people, and George Saunders, another of my favorite people. So the two of his best friends are George Saunders and Jeff Tweedy. So together,
Seriously?
the 3 of them
they really are?
Yeah, for
Wow.
real, yeah.
Cool.
And they went to Glacier National Park. So you get these 3 really interesting intellects, and it's not surface level. So it's travel writing in a way, but it's not at all surface level. There's a lot of, depth to the way they think about what they're seeing as they hike. The second journey is to England with James Rebanks, who's the shepherd turned writer who had a surprise bestseller with A Shepherd's Life, but he's a farmer. I mean, and so that's kind of what Offerman is getting at, is how we farm the land. And then the third trip is with Megan Mullally, his wife, during COVID in their Airstream around the country. So it's about the national parks, but as I say, not a surface level. It's like, where did these parks come from? They're our national treasure, but there were people here before Teddy Roosevelt decided to do his thing. And conservation and farming and animal life. And what I had no idea about is how influenced Nick Offerman is by the writer and farmer Wendell Berry. So Wendell Berry, who is an American treasure that not enough people know about. In fact, one of the things I think Offerman is trying to do here is popularize the thinking of Wendell Berry. So he does all these things, but it's totally an entertaining trip, as you can imagine. So it's definitely the best book I think he's done. Great gift book. You can think of many people you can give it to. So many people took to the road during the pandemic. They are perfect, the perfect people to give this as a gift. So Where the Deer and the Antelope Play by Nick Offerman.
Excellent. Yay. That looks
it's really
another
fun.
really good, like, I hate to use this term generic gift book, but there are certain ones, like the last week when I said, like, happy, what you did, Little Pieces of Hope. I mean, there's these certain ones that you can just give to people where it's, if you don't really know what their tastes are, there's some safe bets.
Right.
Well,
and I had stores that ordered a good amount to begin with, and then they saw the finished copy, and they thought exactly that. Oh my God, this is a great gift for dads, uncles, you name it, and they ordered. They doubled their order. Yeah. So it's perfect.
right, Amanda, you got something for us?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So one of the very first books I talked about when we started doing these tea times is one that's very near and dear to me. And now it's available as a beautiful special edition. And I want to tell you all about it because I think it's a perfect holiday gift for readers that enjoy books in this vein. And I'm urging you to get it now because it may not be available as we get closer to the holidays. And I don't have the beautiful new edition because hint, hint, clue, clue, I'm hoping someone might give it to me for the holidays. It's The Invisible Life of Addie Larue by V.E. Schwab. The new edition is, let's see. The new edition has new art in it. It has a ribbon bookmark.
Ooh, love those ribbon bookmarks.
Yes, it has the debossed stamp on the cover under the jacket, and it has a note from V.E. Schwab herself in it. So it's just a lovely gift object. And so The Invisible Life of Addie Larue is a book for people who enjoyed The 10,000 Doors of January from Alex Harrow. And in fact, and also Naomi Novik, Spinning Silver especially. But in fact, Hugo Award-winning author Alex Harrow says of Addie Larue, this is a book perfectly suspended between darkness and light, myth and reality. This novel is ironically unforgettable. So the story is Addie Larue lives in France in the 1700s, and she wants to escape this small town. So she makes a bargain with a force that is not to be messed with. And as happens in a lot of fairy tales, there's a price she pays that she didn't anticipate. And so the story spans time and ending up in New York in present day. And there's some romance, but more than that, it's a story about stories, about books and writing, creation, how we're remembered. And it's that fun twist on a fairy tale that is becoming a motif that's more common in fiction that I really, really love. Also good for fans of Anne Rice, I'd say. So again, the special edition is now available of The Invisible Life of Addie Larue. And we have copies right now.
Of the special edition?
Yes.
Oh, good. Isn't that still on the New York Times bestseller list, didn't I see?
I think it has been almost
like
continuously since it came out.
Well.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah.
If you haven't read it, and even if you have read it or someone you know loves it, it's a great gift. So highly recommend.
Cool. Okay. I'll talk at the end because I'll talk about events that we'll put into the e-blast for tomorrow too. So Gabe, you're up again.
And ready to partay with my next book,
Girly Drinks
to Kill by Anthony Horowitz. And I just got to remind people, Anthony Horowitz just really got inventive with the Magpie Murders, and then he published The Word is Murder, and then the last book was The Sentence is Death. So he's been playing with the language, he's been playing with the form, books within books, and he's really having a lot of fun, I think, and he's very clever. And that's why these books have been just tremendous bestsellers around the world, because they're so cleverly plotted. I can't believe it's been really regular with the last 5 years or so with these 4 books. And they're just, everyone is really surprising. This is probably his least convoluted and involved. This is a little more locked room mystery and a little bit poking fun at writers and writing. And Anthony's been writing, kids' books forever and screenplays for British TV and novels for adults in the US forever. So he's, seen the world of writing from all sides. So this is the 2 main detectives he's been using in the series, Horowitz and Hawthorne, are invited to a literary festival. And of course, what happens in the middle of all this, there's a murder because there's some infighting about electricity and power lines in the small town. But of course, there's a dead body, and it's up to our intrepid detectives to figure it out. So the island is locked up. Nobody can go in or out. So you know that you're on the island with a murderer. So it's got that whole locked room thing going on, along with a lot of really fun satire on the world of writing and authors and the self-importance. And then a really, as always, the denouement makes you go, I didn't see it coming. So, he's been a really good series. We've do these amazing packages for them, and they've been just, they go into the stores and they get sold and they get reordered immediately, and they sell and they get reordered. Then they go into paperback and they sell. So it's a nice, and you know what you're getting. I think you're always getting a satisfying, creative. Like I said, the last 4 books, each one has been a little bit different and a little bit different spice been thrown in. So,
and look what we get to do on Sunday, right there.
Ooh.
Woohoo! He's a handsome young man too, isn't he? Look at him there. I don't know if his wife would like me saying it, but
I would have thought he was older considering the career he's had. But
I know. Look at him.
He's been writing forever.
I love it. So
brilliant.
Ageless
So brilliant.
young man. Yeah. So Sunday, if you are so inclined, if you're going to buy the book, might as well join us on Sunday at 10 in the morning, and you can click on this link and order the book. We ship it to you. I think, do we have signed book plates or something for that, Amanda?
I don't think so.
I don't know. I don't think we did, but I don't know. We might. You can ask at the store. But anyways, so join us for Anthony's event on Sunday. I love that we're going to be involved in that too. Go ahead,
it'll be
Amanda.
Fun. Jennifer has a question about this series. Does it need to be read in order? What do you think, Gabe?
I don't think so. Like I said, each book is a little bit different in the cases are very individual. So there's no real progression of, like, there's a subplot that's running through all 3 necessarily. So I think you have a good, you can pick up whatever one you run across, whichever one you can find, because they do sell fast.
Yeah.
So whatever one's in the store of like I said, from Magpie Murders, up to this one, and even before, he did. He's done a couple other things with us that are just a lot of fun. I
would say, if you can, though, start with Magpie Murders personally,
just to kind of get the flavor. Just kind of get the flavor.
Yeah. It's not part of the series. It's a different series a little bit, but it's still the same. That's kind of the progression of, like, when I read Peter Robinson, I always say start within a dry season, and that's kind of in the middle of the series. But he really develops his character, and he's just solid from there on in. But yeah, like I said, he's done a number of these. He's done a number of these things, and everyone takes its own form. So I'm one of those people who likes to read things in order. So I'm like that, but I don't think they particularly, there's not a really overreaching arc that you need to keep up with, like the Louise Penny books.
Yeah. Do Louise's need to be read in order?
She's got a subplot running through from the first book that's going on with Andre Gamache and his overseers, because he's kind of too legit.
Got it.
And there's, if you read too far ahead, if you read ahead, you could get to find out what's going on, and you'd be like, wait, what's up?
Wait, what's that? Okay.
So, but otherwise, they are independent of themselves, but they do have that subplot for like the first 8 books, maybe.
Got it.
9.
Well, you'll know where to find me on Sunday morning at 10. I'll be with Anthony Horowitz.
Fun.
lucky you, Julie.
I'll just be watching, the little voyeuristic thing going on, but Okay, Tom, you got.
All right, my next book is one of my favorite nonfiction writers, Rebecca Solman. So her new book is out. I think it's out tomorrow, or it was out last week. It's out soon. Orwell's Roses. So she never repeats herself. She's always just fascinating. I want, like, especially during the Trump administration, I wanted to read her essays to know how she was thinking about what was happening in our world. So the new book is, it's a beautiful meditation on, Orwell, of course, is since the Trump or during the Trump administration, and now forevermore probably, is having a moment, or we're all fascinated by Orwell. But she's found a little known facet of Orwell's life, which is that he was a gardener, and she stumbles across Orwell's roses. So he planted the first line of the book is, in the year 1936, a writer planted roses, and that writer was George Orwell. So she's reflecting, so it's a series, so it's not a biography, but it definitely has biographical elements. She's reflecting on his passion for gardening, his involvement with plants and flowers, and how they connect, and nature itself connects to what his larger interests were, which were power and politics and human rights and justice, which are all the concerns that she has as well. So I feel like this book, it's really a lovely book. And I think, during the pandemic, there's a lot of people who rediscovered or discovered their passion for gardening themselves. It's really a way to connect to something larger, I feel like. And Orwell saw it in a way, or at least Solnit's interpretation of why he was such a passionate gardener, was because we think of Orwell in many ways as a kind of a pessimist. In a way, he saw the kind of the worst side of human nature. But by gardening, it's like you're not giving up. It gives you a sense of hope, because the plants will continue regardless of everything around them. And she ends with a lovely rereading of 1984, which is fascinating. So it's a really fascinating book. So if you're all interested in, what Rebecca Solnit's thinking, and you should be, it's Orwell's Roses. This is a great kind of introduction to her work. I mean, she's done memoir, she did a book, Wanderlust, which was about walking, Field Guide to Getting Lost. And of course, the book we didn't publish, her most famous book, is the little book. Do we remember?
No, I don't remember.
Men Explain Things to Me.
Oh.
Remember that? Yeah, that was about 5 or 6 years ago. That was from a smaller press, but it was a
before mansplaining.
Yeah, exactly. She sort of set the template for mansplaining. So Orwell's Roses, it's really nice.
And I think you said it, but I was distracted. It's a nonfiction or fiction?
Nonfiction.
Nonfiction.
Yeah.
Does she write fiction?
Nonfiction. And
I don't think she writes fiction, does she?
No, but it's and it's really essay, but kind of connected essays with a larger theme.
Okay. Yeah. I have an embarrassing moment about Rebecca Solman from Winter Institute.
Oh.
Well, we were
Can
at
you
dinner.
share?
Yeah, it was just me being dumb. We were at a dinner with like all these authors, like Eric Larson was in the room, and Emma Straub, and oh my God, there was a bunch of authors. And so we're coming back, and so Julie had a little much drink. So it was in Baltimore, and this is like right before COVID hit, which none of us knew. But we all are getting off the bus. I think it was Baltimore. I don't know. Anyways, we're all getting off the buses, and I'm hugging everybody. Now, I didn't sit next to Rebecca. I didn't meet Rebecca. I'm just saying goodbye to everybody. So I just go up to Rebecca Solnit and give her a hug.
And
who is this lady? It's just like, and I walked away and I went, oh, probably shouldn't have done that, but whatever.
And you knew who she was, but she didn't know who you were.
Oh yeah, she had no idea. I mean, she knew that I wasn't just like a stranger off the street. I mean, she did know that I came off of the bus.
That was like January or February of 2020, right?
Yes, correct.
Because she had a book coming out, and she had Recollections of My Non-Existence in March of right as the pandemic.
Right there. Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah. So that was just me being a knucklehead. I was like, sometimes you can't invite me places. You never know.
I'm sure she remembers you fondly now.
Yeah, she's like, oh. All right. Amanda, what do you got for us?
The books of Rebecca Solnit's that I love the most are actually published by University of California, and they're her city atlases. Yeah. And they're such beautiful objects. She did one for San Francisco, and one for New York, and one for New Orleans, and they're really weird, quirky, awesome books. Yeah. I'm going to continue in my sort of theme. And since I mentioned Alex Harrow before, and it's Halloween time, I'll talk about A Spindle Splintered by Alex E. Harrow. So she is a Hugo Award-winning author of The 10,000 Doors of January. And this book is a subversive feminist reimagining of Sleeping Beauty. So our main character is turning 21 and her friend throws her a special birthday party. Our heroine actually has a terrible malady that developed when she was young. And so it's thought that she won't live very much longer. So her friend wants to throw her this amazing party, and she's loved the story of Sleeping Beauty ever since she was young. And she read the Arthur Rackham version of it with the really great illustrations in this fashion. So her friend throws her a Sleeping Beauty themed party, complete with a tower and a spinning wheel. And when our heroine Zinnia pricks her finger, something unexpected and magical happens. And she finds herself in this portal fantasy, basically. And it also does have these great illustrations in it. It's just a little thing, but it's such a beautiful book. It's a little bit queer, which is cool too. Which is unusual in the fairy tale world. So if you know anyone who likes fairy tale reimaginings, this is a great gift book. And she's just a fantastic, wonderful, funny, yet beautifully, everything is beautiful. All the sentences are beautifully crafted. She's such a good writer. So that's A Spindle Splintered.
I didn't read that one, but I read The 10,000 Doors. I loved it. It was so good. Yeah, really good. All right, lightning round. Take us away, Gabe.
I'm going to discuss Amy Beloy's latest book, Good Night Beautiful. We're publishing this tomorrow. Actually, all the books I talked about are publishing tomorrow. And Good Night Beautiful as well as a paperback original. Has a really good price at $16.99. And we published, this is the second book of Amy's we published. We published The Perfect Mother a couple of years ago to really strong reviews. And we're big fans of Amy in the house. So we thought if we publish her in paperback, maybe we can get her to a broader audience a little bit sooner because the price is right. And she's got this real trademark style of a lot of twists and turns and always a surprise ending. You're always kind of like, did I see that coming? I totally didn't see that coming. So she subverts the norms a little bit. It's domestic suspense that questions assumptions, and the expectation is you're kind of expecting a certain thing, and she gives it a little bit of a twist. So yeah, you really have to read it. I don't like to give too much away, but if you're looking for a good thriller writer, Amy's Perfect Mother, which is also available in paperback, and then this on sale tomorrow. Just the kind of thing you want, for the weekend, if you're going away on a trip, if you're taking a weekend off, a staycation, and you want something breezy to read. Holidays are coming up, vacations, days need to be taken, etc. This is what you want to do with your time. Just get away. So we're excited. Hopefully we can get Amy into a lot of people's hands. And
I think I read this.
You did.
I did read this, didn't I?
The cover is completely different.
Completely different. And it's got such a great twist.
Yeah.
It's got such a good twist. So if you're looking for that, where you didn't see it coming, and she just builds this thing, it's really good. So
yeah, I mean, the husband disappears, but
does he?
He's been monitoring he's a therapist, and she listens in through the vents.
Yeah,
a little bit of a cliche, but she listens in, and then
but it's got a little bit of the misery thing going on from Stephen King. So it's got this, it's just, you can't say too much because you can give away too much.
There's a little surprises.
Yeah, the fun of this one is is getting the little gems that she leaves along the way. It's good. If you're in the mood for it, it's well done.
Very twisty.
Yep. All right, Tom. Lightning. And by the way, I know we've got a lot of questions coming in. we might not get to all of them, so we might go back and answer some of them after we're done in the chat. So, okay, go ahead, Tom.
Okay, so I've always been fascinated by mid-century life in America, mid-century, especially publishing in the, in that period, 50s, 60s, 70s. So naturally, as a result, I've always been fascinated by the tragic tale of Truman Capote. So, most famous, really only famous now for Breakfast at Tiffany's and In Cold Blood. But he, at the time, 50s, 60s, 70s, he was a celebrity. He was on Johnny Carson. He was on all those shows.
Don't you remember? I remember watching him. I mean,
yeah.
he was a character to watch, man. It was so cool.
Yeah.
He would just pop up and a weird self.
Exactly. I had no idea what a mess he was. When I was growing up, I just was fascinated by this weird character who had written these great, like In Cold Blood especially was a book at that time that was, it's still influential. But anyway, so the new book, Lawrence Lemurs, Capote's Women. I was a sucker for this book as soon as I heard about it. A true story of love, betrayal, and a swan song for an era. So Capote's Women. So Capote, of course, was gay, but he collected in his way of thinking certain women, and they were all wealthy women, very wealthy women, who are all they're all forgotten today. There were people like Babe Paley. Forget the name of Jackie Kennedy's sister. She was one of them. And they were internationally famous. They were on the covers of magazines. They were both wealthy and beautiful. And he traveled the world with them. He traveled to their estates. He lived off them. And at some point, very early on, actually, right after the success of Breakfast at Tiffany's, but before he did In Cold Blood, he started having the idea that he was going to write his next big novel, was called Answered Prayers. So that was about 1957. And Answered Prayers was going to be his, like Proust. He imagined it as Proust, but he was going to tell the stories of the lives of these rich and famous people he was surrounding. Anyway, so for the next 20 years, he would talk about this Answered Prayers, which he never wrote, as far as anyone can tell. But when he published an excerpt, which who knows if it was really an excerpt, but it was in Esquire in the mid-70s, he published a piece that exposed the secrets, kind of gossipy secrets of all of his friends, the swans that he called them. They dropped him immediately. He was not around them. They didn't return his phone calls, and he had no idea what had happened. So it's just fascinating. There's a lot of publishing history in here because Random House still is his publisher. And they paid him a fortune. They paid him a fortune for Answered Prayers before there was anything to look at, when there never was anything. Hollywood paid him a fortune. So he lived off this idea of this novel. But anyway, Lawrence Lemur he's an old time pro at these kind of bios. He's done books about the Kennedys. I think he might live in Palm Beach. He's written about Palm Beach. He knows this world that he's writing about. And it's super entertaining. It's like a Vanity Fair. If you at all love, anything in Vanity Fair or old Vanity Fair, this is it. It really is like it's a tragic story, but at this point we can look back on it, and it's just sheer entertainment. I loved it. Capote's Women. This was the subject of Melanie Benjamin's book, The Swans of Fifth Avenue.
Oh, okay. That
was
her.
A fictional version of this real life story. It is great.
Oh man, yeah, no, and there's just something about the women, the bitchy women of those days, just like boom, they were something to reckon with.
Exactly. I mean, Gloria Vanderbilt, of course, is in here. They're all in here. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy stuff, but really fun.
Love it. Okay, Amanda, what's your lightning round?
As we get closer to the holidays, I always love how books like this one come out that are at the intersection of food and travel and nature. This is Truffle Hound. And the subtitle is On on the trail of the world's most seductive scent with dreamers, schemers, and some extraordinary dogs. And we all love dogs at Horowitz. So our author is a James Beard award-winning author, Rowan Jacobson, and he's a great writer. He gets his first whiff of a truffle in Italy, and I love how he describes it. He says, "It was hardly a food smell at all. It was more like catching a glimpse of a satyr prancing across the dining room floor while playing its flute and flashing its hindquarters at you. You think, what the hell was that? And then you think, I have to know." So people pay thousands of dollars per pound of truffle. These weird, what are they? They're not, are they alive? They're not quite mushrooms. They're not animals. Like, what are these things that make us that are so evocative and so desirable? So this is a great book because it's food, but he's also traveling the world. He goes to Italy, to Hungary, Spain, England. And it's funny and clever, and it's got doggos in it, and it's just a great food writing book, and also travelogue if you're into that. So that's Truffle Hound by Rowan Jacobson.
And it's truffle season.
Doggos.
Is it right now?
Right now. Last time we were in Italy was October, and it was in October, and it was we had a lot of truffles.
Yeah. Truffle fries. I like it on my fries.
Mm.
Hey, Tom, is Betsy Bloomingdale in that book? You remember?
I don't remember. Yeah, I don't remember that. Remember her being in there now.
Okay. Somebody was asking if Betsy
Well,
Bloomingdale was in there.
there's if I don't have the finished book, so I can't check the index. But,
Oh, got it. Okay. All right. So let's see if I can get us back to, hold on a minute, because I want to talk
Back
about
on track.
Back on track, baby. Let's get us going.
And Harper Lee worked with him on In Cold Blood, apparently.
Right.
Right. They
No,
grew up. They grew up together. He had an extraordinary story. They grew up in Alabama together as kids, and then reconnected in New York. And he was the more successful of the two.
At the time,
until he
she was a real recluse. But I just remember him sitting with Johnny Carson with his cigarette.
Yeah.
I mean, he just had that pose, and he would just. I mean, it's just he.
And weirdly, he became best friends with the one friend who he didn't lose was Joanne Carson, who was Johnny Carson's ex-wife. And there was some weird stuff at the end of his life with her. He died, I think, maybe in LA at her house or her guest house or something. Weird stuff about his ashes that involved Joanne Carson. So anyway.
Oh,
yeah.
wow. Cool.
It's all in there, except for maybe Betsy Bloomingdale.
Okay. I'm going to show you, because I got some good events coming again. So Jonathan Franzen in 1 hour, 20 minutes.
Oh, right.
We're going to be doing an event. So still chance to get tickets. Anybody watching can do that. But this is getting all the rage, is everywhere, is Midnight in Washington. Congressman Adam Schiff will be with us on Saturday down at USD. So Saturday afternoon, 4:00, if you want hear a good conversation between him and the Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences, Political Science Department. She will be, Dr. Noelle Norton will be doing the interview with Congressman Adam Schiff. So join us for that. And then lots of good things coming. Oh, there's another one that's coming this week that I'm excited about too. Obviously, I'm excited about all of our events. But I loved this book, My Monticello by Jocelyn Nicole Johnson. So good. I think there was a write-up. Amanda, was it this past weekend or the weekend before, I guess, in the UT? But we're
Just
hosting
yesterday.
Just yesterday? Okay.
Yep. And I think it was in the New York Times either yesterday or last week, I think.
Okay.
It's going to be such a good event. And she's in conversation with a columnist for the Union Tribune, a social justice columnist, Lisa Dedrick. So it's going to be a great conversation. And it was an Indies Introduced book.
Oh, was it an introduced one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I didn't
Oh,
know
yeah.
that.
Overwhelmingly, everyone knew as soon as they started it that it was going to be on the list.
When you read, because it's a linked collection of short stories. the lead story, My Monticello. It's brilliant. So anyways, so join us, get on our email list. November 21st, I think we're going to do an open house and celebrate our 125th anniversary. So
oh, that's great.
Look for more info about that. So anyways, with that, everybody, happy reading. Thanks for coming in to Gabe and Tom and Amanda.
Oh yeah,
some good books. So all right, good night, everybody. See you next week.
Bye everyone.
Bye everybody.